For the final video in this chapter, I want to talk about hotkeys. I think that hotkeys are the most important area of improvement after general game knowledge, and I think it's a really underutilized technique by many people. It is important for frigate PvP, it's less important for even cruiser and especially like battle cruiser, battleship PvP, and even less important for fleet PvP. But frigate PvP, frigate fights last something like 60 seconds on average, and if you spend 20 of these seconds looking for module to click or element of a UI to interact with, it puts you at a big disadvantage. So if you are serious about frigate and destroyer PvP, you need to get used to using the hotkeys. I found that the biggest problem with the hotkey is that people cannot map the hotkey on the keyboard with actions in even line. And I will explain how I do it. It's maybe not the best system, but it works very well for me, and I hope it will work well for you as well. Okay, let's talk about principles first. So how to map in your brain the buttons on the keyboard with actions in-game. Let's start with modules. For modules, you can think of them in terms of top, middle, and bottom rows, not in terms of high power, mid power, and low power modules like in the fitting window. Because in game, you can rearrange the modules however you like. You can just drag and drop them. And this way, you can achieve a consistent layout across many different ships. The layout depends on your preferences. This is how I do it. On top row, I always put offensive and control modules in a specific order. We will talk about the order of modules on the next slide. So offensive and control, it is guns or missile launchers for offensive, and for control, it is Scrum, Warp Disruptor, and Webs. For the middle row, I always have propulsion, utility, and electronic warfare. So this would be Afterburner, Macro Warp Drive, Cap Booster, Tracking Disruptor, Missile Disruptor, Newts. For the bottom row, I always put here tanking modules and escape modules. So tanking modules are reps, ancillary or normal reps, hardeners for shield or armor, ADC, and something like macro jump drive, if you fly combat destroyers, for example. Now, once you arrange the modules in this logic and this order, you can map them with a keyboard pretty easily. So for me, 1 is always Scrum, 2 is always Web, and 3 and 4 are usually guns, depending on if I have a second web or not. And second row on your keyboard is the second row of modules in game. And on Q, I always have propulsion module, for example. It doesn't matter what ship I fly, I always have my primary propulsion on Q. And the third row on the keyboard is the same as the third row in-game for modules. So here, for example, on S, I will always have my primary tanking module. So once you are done with the modules, when you need to put on hotkey all the crucial navigation and utility stuff. So you definitely need a hotkey for the directional scanner because you will use it all the time and it needs to be somewhere convenient. Many people use space. I find tilde a bit more convenient because one of my fingers is unused anyway, usually, and I can use it to just match directional scan. Hitting is the default. I think shift is the default, and I think it's reasonable. So for me, shift +1 would be hit the scrum, shift +4 hit guns, shift +Q hit propulsion module, and so forth. Control is the lock target. I think it's also the default. Also makes sense, I think, so I just keep it on the default. And look at, another very useful hotkey. I also keep it on default. I think it's Alt by default. The bottom row on your keyboard is for everything else. It depends on what activities you do most of the time. I very occasionally FC, so I have some crucial fleet management broadcasts here. For me, it's align, broadcast primary, and request for apps. I just rebind the request for apps depending on whether I fly in a shield fleet or in a armor fleet. But it will be broadcast for apps anyway, a single hotkey. And the remaining stuff is for drones. You really need only 3 hotkeys here. So this is for launch your favorite group, aggress, and recall. And you can even do recall as a combination of one of the hotkeys with shift, for example. I think by default it's something like shift plus B or something like this, but I don't remember exactly. But it's possible. So it's just depending on what activity you do mostly, you can dedicate more buttons into drone management if you do solo PvP mostly, or you can dedicate most of the third row for fleet management if you fly in fleets. Now let's look at the example. This is how I arrange my modules. So in the top row, as I said, I have offensive and control modules, and the very first module is always tackle. So in a frigate that has scrum, it will be scrum, and in a frigate that has point, it will be point or disruptor. Second module is always web, if I have one, and third, if I have double webs, then the third one will be a web as well. And after these crucial control modules, I have guns. So I will always have tackle under 1, web under 2, and then on 3 or 4, it will be either web or a gun. In the middle row, I have propulsion, utility, and electronic warfare. The order is always the same. Under Q, I have my main propulsion module, and under W, I have my secondary propulsion module for dual prop ships. So in Kiter, I will have micro warp drive here under Q, and in an afterburner frigate, I will have afterburner under Q. Under E, I always have a cap booster if I have one in the feed, and under R, it's either tracking disruptor or newts. Usually you have only one in a typical frigate feed, so it's not an issue. If you fly like a newt in Tristan, then your newts are essentially your control, and you have something like scrum, newt in the top row. But if it's a utility module or like EVOR module, then it goes in the second row. And in the third row, I have a tank. Under S is always the main tank. So if I have like a dual tanking ship, like with Hookbill, which has medium ancillary shield booster and small ancillary armor rep, then medium ancillary shield booster is the main tank, and I will have it under S. And ancillary rep is the secondary tank, which will go under D. And if I fly something like a Comet, which has only ancillary rep, then ancillary rep will go under S, and the hotkey under D will be empty. And under F, I usually keep MJD or ADC As a general rule, frigates or destroyers do not have any active hardeners, so it's not really an issue. But if you fly like a larger ship, then you may arrange your modules slightly differently. So this is the way I approach the hotkeys, module hotkeys especially. You can rearrange the modules the way you like, but the general principle is that you need to like have a system on how your modules are arranged across different ships, and if you have this system, then you will remember what button on the keyboard does what action in game. Okay, this is the system that I use. I think it works very well for me, at least. It really becomes like second nature after command for 2 that you use it. I hope you found it useful, and I will see you in the next chapter of this tutorial.